Hi all, how's it going? So, we have been building the rear clip mould, which has been our main focus, but in between laying up those, we've also now produced our first wide model seat. So the seat is 30 millimeters wider here. My mould finished there, and we basically spaced it out. Now, this seat is the right width, so I will actually use this seat in the car, which is why I've done it white, so it matches the outside of the bodywork. But what I've got to do now is to remove this yellow clay, sand this down. It's mainly a positive because I made it that way when I filled it into the mold. I've got to sand the edges off and buff this so it's a nice finish again. So it's basically as nice as the rest of that. This is baby smooth, as was the mold. So basically tidy this up, and there was a small fault in the mold that needs to be tidied up as well, and then I'll make a new mold for the wider seat. So it'll get rid of this, and we'll have the flanges. It's two-piece mold. Then I'll have the flanges down the middle again, but there'll be no need for spacers. Yet again, my chest is complaining. Excuse me, I've just had the full-on man flu on Monday and Tuesday, just to really annoy the proverbial CRAP out of me. Yes, so that's the new wider seat, so it gives it a little bit more room. These returns here are obviously quite a bit big. You won't need to return that. You only need about probably no more than an inch or so, just so that when the seat is trimmed, they've got somewhere to wrap the cloth and finish the cloth on the edge. So we're leaving it big at the moment because I want to take a mold off of this. Once we took the mold, then we'll trim this back to something normal. So yes, first wider seat made, new mold to be made. Yes, another mold. Oh yes, the diffuser mold. We have now got what's recommended. This Fern Free Coat 770, which is an epoxy release agent. So all the release agents I've got at the moment would be no good for an epoxy, unless you wanted to use PVA, which I don't want to use PVA because you'll lose the finish. So keep the decent finish, use this, and that would be good for that. So as much as this is quite a big infusion to make, I will start doing a smaller couple of ones. I have the two access panels under the front here, which allow you to get into the pedals. I'll do them first because they're nice and simple, just to make sure I'm doing everything right, and then I'll build myself up to that. We have the headlamp sections cut out. Now, these panels here that I've just screwed in, so this below this, I pulled these panels out of the mold, which is going to be for the clear perspex cover. But I needed to make start to make the headlamp beauty cover, so where the lamps and stuff go into there. So I needed a nice trimmed edge around the inside, something that overlaps that eventually I'll just glass over. But I needed somewhere to start, so I laminated them up. I've just temporarily bolted them in, just to give me somewhere to start. Say, as far as on the rear clip is concerned, we finished the top section a little while ago now. The next section would be the back. So we are up at, oh God, 4 from the end. So we're at layup 7 at the moment out of 11. So I've got four more layers of 1.5 ounce mat to go in that, and then that will be done. And then we'll bolt through here because we'll have both of these parts on that flange. We'll bolt through there, put the bolts in, and then I shall articulate the whole mold on this. So move the thing forward, and then we'll just sort of rotate the mold to the side, similar to how I did the front clip. And then we'll do this wheel arch side, and then do the reverse, do that side there. And that's the more complicated parts because it involves rolling. Once we've done those two, we'll put it flat level again, and we'll do this side here. So and And then there's the, okay, and keep going. You get the idea, but we're moving on it, so we keep going. So yeah, seat mold, thing mold. Yeah, one minor issue I had with the HREs, HRE wheels we have, which are here. They had a little bit more offset. Obviously, they were not standard offset Z06 Corvette, which is what I basically originally designed the damn thing for. So they had a little bit more offset than I liked, and I had to flare the wheel arches a little bit for them, but it was still dodgy with the wheel would come and articulate on the inside here. So basically I had to move the the hub in. I don't want to change the wheels for the moment, and it will give me a little bit more clearance for the standard wheels, which I'll be kind of happy about. So so basically I've had to machine 5mm off the face of both the front uprights. Not something I originally planned because I've already anodized them, but hey ho, you won't see it behind the wheel. I'll just treat this with some paint. Once the rotor and the discs and everything on, obviously you're not going to see it because it'll be all built up like such. But to be honest, when I machined this off, I was just looking in the CAD drawing, I've actually got like 33mm in width there, which is way more than originally the Corvette stuff had for their bolts. So these bolts are a little bit longer, so thinning it down 5mm didn't really make a huge amount of difference. I liked it so much, to be honest, I've altered the CAD program to mimic that now. There was also a slight, obviously there'll be a slight difference here. I've put spaces between the caliper bracket now, so I'll have to make some 5mm spaces up for there instead of just putting some washers in for the moment. So then I altered the caliper bracket, so that new caliper bracket, that flange meets here and basically won't have any spaces. And there was a minor, just, where were we on here? I think just on this edge here, or that edge there, sorry, we were just touching the curve of the inside of here. So what I've done, instead of altering this extra material here, basically I took that off and basically lifted this up 2mm just to make sure the steering arm missed. So it's a prototype, so that's basically what it's all for. I've also depthened or made the bolts slightly deeper. To basically, this bolt I had to shave 1mm off the top to miss where the steering arm sits over the top of it. So basically I've shaved this back face and just spotted it 1mm, so 1.5mm just to be a bit of extra clearance, so that I can still get my Nordlock washers underneath there, which are probably about the best locking washer in the world. If you don't know, type in N-O-R-D lock, L-O-C-K, and you'll be amazed how good they are. So that thing will never come off. And I put Nordlock washers over everything, the brake calipers, mounting brackets, they'll be over the drive shafts as well, the drive shaft bolts. This is none of this stuff. It actually takes more torque to undo them than to do them up. Yep, I'm not BSing on that. So realistically, once you've done them up for £60, they're going to take 65 to 68 pounds to undo. So you're never going to unlock them. They never vibrate loose. So right, that's what it is. So yeah, seat. Seat there. That's kind of about it. Just a actual proper quick update. Oh yeah, the steering wheel. I finally bit the bullet, and I'm going to go wireless. I couldn't be doing with the curly cable, even though I bought a curly cable that's got twisted pair for the CAN bus. Yeah, I couldn't be doing with the cable. So basically we're going to mount on the back side of here, where we've got the rotary pots. We're going to have a box across the back here. I've got to build it in and then print a box to go around it. But basically we're going to have a wireless module in here. So unfortunately that meant we couldn't have illuminated lights, illuminated push buttons. So we've now got our blue light for high beam, red for horn, green is for the windscreen wiper operations, and then the black is for could be hydraulic suspension, but I think I'm tempted to use that for cruise control. So like set, resume and up. on the cruise control settings. So I've bought the RF box for it, so realistically this will now be wireless and powered by a couple of treble A batteries. One of the other options actually, one of the other options for the wireless transmitter, it looks like ECU Masters are coming out with a system next month. So I'm going to keep my eye on that because that one quite handily will actually broadcast on the CAN bus the voltage of the batteries in the unit. So you can set up on the dashboard of the car minimum voltage for your steering wheel, and you can put a reminder on the dashboard, change the batteries on the steering wheel. So at least before you set out on the journey, you know the battery is going to be good, because as soon as you turn the screen on, it'll tell you if they're low. So that's kind of a cool feature. So we'll see what ECU Masters come up with. It looks pretty good, but don't know until you get it. Okay, that's about it at the moment. Oh yeah, Porsche still not sold. Hundreds of people interested, theoretically. A few people reasonably seriously, but at the moment it's still not sold, which is a real shame, because I really could do with sort of 20 grand to throw at this, just to help me along at this point. But yes, so if nobody wants a 962, and for all the body panels I've got, if it's just the body panels and the chassis plans, then you're probably looking at about $22,000, 22,000 American. So up to you on that one. And anybody wants a lovely 962, that's fine. I could also convert it into a roller. We could make the chassis a full roller for you. So it all depends, up to you. But realistically, I can't keep two projects. This one's taken up so much of my time, I have to sell this one. So you can have the plans for the chassis and this chassis here, if you want that. A little extra for the chassis, because the roll cage is worth some money. Let people know and give me a shout back. So obviously that's only just some of the body panels. The rest of them, yeah, the rear clips over there, and there's a bunch of stuff on the floor. So but yes, so if somebody wants a lovely 962 project that I could help them with if they need to, but at this point I just need it sold. I can store it here, but I need the money up front for the body, and then we can negotiate for that, the rest of it. Once that's gone, then that will help me concentrate on this, and I'm going to have to theoretically get that off the jig anyway, because I'm going to have to build a proper metal jig for this chassis. Once it's stripped down, before we send the chassis off to get powder coated, I want to drop it onto the 4x4 rails we have for the table, and make an actual 2 or 3 jig points that I can bolt to that steel frame. So when we make the next car chassis, that basically the central part of the tub. So pretty much everything from here forward I can have made, because everything from there backwards is reasonably simple. You know, the tri-bars come to the plate, so I'll just have a mock-up plate and build it to that. This bar here, we can have the top piece there, we can have that made in a separate jig, and the gearbox frame can be made on a separate jig. So but if I can get the front part of the chassis all pre-laser cut, so basically I phone up a local company, they laser cut sort of 90% of the tubes. Some of the smaller stuff it's pretty easy to do, but for the laser cut most of the tubes, I can have 2 or 3 chassis sets sat on the wall. I can get the bodies made by also a local supplier. I can make the chassis, but I need money to fund all of this, and Porsche's unfortunately got to go to sacrifice it from that. You know, I'm getting quite a few people interested to know when they can put deposits on this car, so which is cool, but I need to finish the tooling, and I need to make sure I've got everything in, all my ducks in order before I start taking deposits, when I really don't know the lead time. And I need to, until I've guaranteed that I know how I'm going to get the bodies made, where I'm going to get the bodies made, the steel tube chassis and all that kind of stuff. I need to have all that stuff in there. I'm already getting quotes now for all the aluminum parts to be machined outside, because that also is a bit of a time suck. There's basically 3 major things that take the time. 1, to make the body; 2 to make the chassis, and 3 to make all the aluminum parts. The chassis stuff, if I laser cut it, then I can make the chassis in-house here, not too problem. I can knock basically the main tube chassis up in probably less than 3 or 4 days. So that's okay, but I need to be able to make, or the target realistically is to be able to sort of almost productionize and make basically 1 rolling chassis a month. If I can do that, and if I can sell those, yes, I know that's a lot of ifs, but if I can sell those at once a month, so sell 12 kits a year, then realistically I can do this full time and yes, give up that horrible day job that I've got to go back to tomorrow. Yes. Well, kind of everything. So yes, I'm working my way through now. And yes, that's about as far as I go. So yeah, if anyone really wants a 962 group, it's the 962C, full body, the basic body, just the panels themselves, but that I would include a windscreen. Sorry, it would include a Lexan racing shield, which is a windshield, but basically for racing. The door perspex covers. I think I have the headlamp clear covers as well, but don't quote me on that. I've got to find them, but I think I had them. Just the body with all the various bits and pieces to go with it. $18,500 US. On top of that, if you want this chassis that's underneath it, which is kind of half done, then that's a certain price. If you want me to finish that particular chassis up to the bulkhead, because everything obviously bolts on from the bulkhead backwards, that can also be done. If you want all the billet parts, I can either give you the plans for that or I can have them made, etc, etc. But I really need to push and sell the poor old 962, because realistically this is what's going to make the money. So I'll have to sacrifice the Porsche. Anyway, let me know. Speak to you all soon.